If you ordered a kit from us, you should have everything that you need to get started. Otherwise, I will put a description list below so you can just follow along and pick up everything you need to do this. The first step that you're going to want to do is to fill your little 5-inch balloon. It will be doubled just because we want to give it that extra layer of protection. So you're going to fill it with water, about yay full. It's a little smaller than a baseball, I would say. That makes it heavy enough to hold it down, but not too big that you risk popping it or having it leak. When you do this, you only need to tie the inside neck. You do not need to tie the outside. That's going to make it a lot easier. I have a 260 tied to it. You don't have to do that right away. That's just because I clipped this off of the other statue. So just set that aside and then get started on inflating our balloons. All right, so I'm just gonna do mine in the traditional rainbow arrangement. So I'm gonna do my pink and my peach on the bottom and start out. I'll put a supply list below if you're just following this along and you haven't purchased a kit. You do need a hand pump for this style because we're going to be inflating 260s and most electric inflators will not inflate these. There are some commercial ones, but most of you are just following along at home, so make sure that you pick up a hand pump. Now I'm going to inflate my 11-inch balloons. I'm going to start with pink and peach here. So I'm just going to pair these off. I'm using a commercial pump today, but a hand pump works just fine. These are single layered balloons, so they inflate with almost any electric machine, I believe. So this is too big. This is helium size. So if you're doing helium balloons, that's fine. But when we're doing any kind of garland building or this, we'd want them to be round and a little bit smaller, especially when they're your base, because you don't want them popping. Okay, so this is the largest size I'm going to go to, and I do want them to be about the same size. I want them to be as uniform as possible. They do make little like cardboard cutout inflator things where you can size them so they're perfect. Those are really handy if you're going to be doing this a lot or if you're going to start doing it for clients. I definitely recommend grabbing one of those. It makes the process very faster and it just makes everything look really nice. So. I always push into my balloons a little bit. That helps make them a little more round as I'm deflating them. Helps me know that I'm at a good spot. And when I tie them, what I like to do is I like to twist the necks over the top of each other to hold the air in, and then just tie them like so. That makes it go very quick. If you're using a hand pump, it's nice to have an extra person so you can, one person's inflating and handing off and tying things. So you can definitely tie these in singles and then just tie the balloons together when you're done. You don't have to tie them in pairs if that's causing a problem. Just tie them in a knot and then tie them together. You'll be just fine. So step one here, I'm gonna crisscross the necks and just wrap them around each other once. And I like to arrange them so they're like this. So I'm doing that, they're gonna be nice and flat. Set those aside like that. Okay, I've got my green. I'm just gonna compare it to my base because I do want it to be a little bit smaller. Just make sure it kind of fits in there and that it is a little smaller than the base. And again, that they are about the same size, checking that, making them round, tying them off. So even smaller yet. So now I have my 3 pieces here. What I'm actually going to do in this step, I want to make sure my base is flat and my second piece is flat. Then I'm going to actually take a tail out of here and I'm going to tie it to the base. This actually just helps me sort of start with a more secure sculpture before I start adding things onto it. Another thing that you can do, and that is included in your kit, is you could take one of these 260 twisters and you can just link them together and tie it. So use it as if it was a piece of string. You probably only need about 1/3 of a 260 per stack. So for the top, I'm just going to show you how I would do it if I used a 260. So I am just going to actually take this. What I'm doing, you can't see off on camera, but I'm just wrapping it around like that. You can see that? That's what I'm going to do with this set right here. So, and then I'm just tying it to it, just making a anchor and string point. If you have a hard time tying balloons, this will be an easier way for you to do this. So now I have this piece, and then I can just set this in here, wrap this over the top of it, and then just tie it off with one of the necks. Super easy. And then just go like that. So now we have our base, like so. We're gonna add our Mylar on top, and we're gonna add our weight in this next step. So I'm going to actually take my 260 twister. I'm gonna find one of these little tabs. You can decide which direction you want your number to sit in there, if you want it to kind of go backwards or forwards. Sometimes they're right in the middle, like if it's a 1. Depends on what number that you're working with. Okay, so you can see that I just tied it on, like so. Can you see that good? Just tie it around like that, just to anchor it down. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna just take this and bring it all the way down to the bottom. I wanna make sure my Mylar is in there nice and tight. So now I'm coming out the bottom. I'm actually gonna wrap around one balloon, like so. And then what I wanna do is I wanna tie it to my weight. I'm only, if you did fill this with both balloons, I'm gonna take the inside neck. I don't need to tie it to both. I can just tie it to the inside. So I want this to be nice and tight. And again, I'm actually gonna take this and wrap it around one more balloon. What that does is it just makes this stay tighter so nothing's pulling loose. And then just tying these two together. So now that's in there like so. And now this sits upright. So with the 5-inch balloons, I'm going to tie mine into sets of 3. When you're inflating your 5-inch balloons, this is way too big. It just doesn't make for a good shape. It doesn't fit well. It's going to pop really easily. So you want to make sure you are in a nice small round shape so you can see the kind of difference between those two. So again, I'm going to take these, I'm going to tie them into a pair, and then I'm going to tie another one on. I'm just going to tie in a third one. These aren't super uniform, but you want to try to get them as close to uniform as possible. But once you kind of start placing them in there, it's not going to be too big of a deal. So I took my 5 and I moved it over. That's kind of the nice thing about using the 260 twister, is it's got a little stretch to it. Don't pull too hard. You don't want to snap it or break it. But it started here. I don't really want it super tilted. It's just a personal preference. And so I just kind of pulled it out to the side, just to kind of keep it here. To attach the 5-inch clusters of balloons, you're going to want to take your 260 twister and cut it in half. We're doing a little different on this step than I do for my garlands. I just find it to be easier for this style and for customers to do it at home. So I just kind of wrap it around. I've just tied it onto here, like that, and then I'm actually just going to tie this back as well. So I'm going to tie both ends. That way I've created like a rubber band, essentially. And I can take this rubber band, wrap it around a balloon, like so, and now it's placed. For doing it this way, I would not go less than half of a 260. Otherwise it gets kind of harder to stretch it enough to get around the balloon. So we'll do that one more time. Like that. And come over here, wrap around this guy, like so. And I've filled in right there. I'll actually bring that up front, like that. And the nice thing about this, I can move these if I want. So when they're on these twister balloons, you can slide them around a little easier. That's why we don't do glue dots for this. I think it gives you a little more creative freedom. Glue dots are kind of, once you stick them, they're there forever. I'm going to show you a different technique, so just in case you want to try this instead or you're struggling with the other one, just tie that on like that. I'm going to do this, and then I'm actually just going to find a tail inside of here or something to anchor this to, and I'm just going to secure this down. So there's one right here. It's actually the main area, main vein I can tie it to. So I've just tied it in. Now I can move it around. I can put it up here and kind of do all kinds of stuff with it. I'm going to put this right here just because it helps kind of hold my 5s up. I'm going to move these over. So for adding I'm going to take and add 2 60s around the 5 just to kind of give it a little extra something. So I'm just going to take my hand pump, inflate this almost all the way full because I'm going to let air out in order to fit it. Actually, I just need to change my camera frame real quick, and then I will show you how to attach it onto here. I have this here. I'm going to wrap it around, and I'm just going to kind of get an idea. I'm going to start letting air out. I like it to be a little bit smaller. I like this balloon to be a little smaller. That way it fits nice and tight. You can kind of add these rings anywhere on your number if you have a, depending on the shape of the number, how you end up at the end, totally personal preference. But this is a super easy, quick way to kind of put together a little sculpture to feature your number or letters or other Mylar. And it's really a great add-on to a garland. So if you guys do have any questions, please comment below or reach out and we will gladly try to help you get an answer.